The idea behind the roast was two or three things that got together. One, if you look at the ecosystem, there's tons of different stakeholders, and venture capitalists are clearly one of the linchpins that enables the ecosystem. But turns out that they're not necessarily the most liked, right? And add to that, there's never a platform to have the voice of many that dislike them to be vocalized. And I figured, let me volunteer and make that happen. And therefore, I present to you humbly me. So what we'll do is I'll walk you through how we're going to roast these folks. But prior to that, prior to getting these gentlemen up on stage, and as you can see, the cool thing about the panel is it's the epitome of diversity. So what I did was I figured we'll go out there, and for all the VC friends and VCs who are out there and not here, we figured, when we look around and try to figure out the VCs that represent the local ecosystem, the Hyderabad ecosystem, as opposed to looking at the token top-notch VCs across the country. So what I did was I went around and I reached out the top 5 VCs of Hyderabad. So since the 5 couldn't be found, I got the next best 5. And here they are. So without further ado, can we have the victims up on stage, please? Moving forward, we have another class of people, investors, early stage VCs, PEs, and other types of investors who I broadly call BMW or haters. And you might wonder who they are, and this is a representation of that, although all of them are early stage. So they're big LP money wasters, that's BMW, and having anger towards entrepreneurs who are on a train that made it to success, although some of them are successful entrepreneurs. Moving on, so what I did was, since we got the second best set of 5 VCs, I thought let me walk this way. I figured I know all of them personally, right? So I thought I'll do the introductions on the basis of 2 things. Number one little anecdote about each of you, and that should not be more than a sentence. Number 2, the worst possible image that I could find on the Google. And I did find some amazing pictures. Some of them were remarkable, which I decided not to put up. So we found the second best set of pictures. And then I figured the third thing to do was to potentially make fun of them, which is a personal jab based on the pictures along the lines of Stephen Colbert. So it should be fun. The intro should be fun. And in case, for whatever reason, you're also interested in what they've all achieved in life, and they have, you can also read that on the side. But trust me, the other stuff is more fun. And I'll start with myself. He who will be now known as the asshole at the end of the session, at least by these 5 members. One of them is a board member, so I have my disclaimer form signed already. And man who thought sideburns were cool in 2010, and also let one rip in another startup event and hoped that people will not notice. That now gives you a sense of what these pictures are. So that's some good self-deprecating humor. We'll start with Sateesh. He who I had to go to and pitch at the golf course clubhouse when I was an entrepreneur. I don't know if you remember this, Sateesh, 10 years ago perhaps. And man who didn't have time to shave his stubble and recover from his hangover before this picture was posted online. Another decade ago, I met Sarath over coffee or a drink, I don't remember, in Bangalore. And I didn't have the guts to pitch to you as an entrepreneur. And also the man who, as you can see from the picture, and now hasn't aged since 1970, which is another way of saying he looked 50 even back then. And he who I cannot piss off because he's on my board. And therefore, I'll leave it at that. And man whose identical twin brother was really into animation that he was okay getting that picture taken. And man who was incredibly excited at the first real startup exit out of Hyderabad. Venkat's a very interesting one. He who I had heard of from another investor friend in Mumbai, and the only call that he made was, dude, who the hell is Parampara? Right? That's testimony to success, so well done. And man whose backup job in 1984, as the picture indicates, was the mustachioed villain turned hero for all 4 South Indian Bollywood flicks, Tollywood flicks.
That's the best you can come up with?
He who I met for the first time at a coffee shop.
Sorry.
You know we're going to get you back here, right? And shamelessly name-dropped Anthill before he had even started it. And I wondered, why did he not steal the name Sequoia or Axel? Because if you're going to steal a name, might as well go for the moon. But here's what's interesting when Google, I had to look up Google based on timelines of pictures. Take a look at those pictures. Clearly the man who for the last 20 years has perfected the art of posing. And he who invented the selfie even before the smartphone was available.
Dude, I'm in India.
That, ladies and gentlemen, is my panel. Thank you. Let's get right to it. This is meant to the BMW and haters. The definition of a startup ecosystem. It is formed by people, blah, 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 who come together, blah, 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 organizations, corporates, institutes, blah, 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 venture capitalists, blah, blah, blah. If you ask any of them as to which other ecosystem/stakeholder do they hate, the standard question is, why do all these guys construe you as fun-loving picnickers? Let's give it a go, guys. Who wants to take this?
I think they're talking about the other VCs. I'm really loved. So.
I'll go.
Please, Sateesh.
Yeah, so Jay, I think it's good to be on this, but as we were explaining, I think we're roasted all the time. Right? Roasted by family, roasted by investors, roasted by entrepreneurs. I think until you give money, you are a god. After you give money, you know what we are. Right? We are dogs. So I think, kind of coming back to your question, majority of the times if you go around and ask people, they say there's a lot of money, but we don't find good ideas or good entrepreneurs. When you go ask entrepreneurs, you say, I have a great idea, but I don't see people with the money. I check.
Right.
So it sounds very paradoxical, but unfortunately, it is what it is.
So you do admit you're a fun-loving picnicker.
Beauty lies in the eyes of the beholder.
Anyone else wants to take a stab?
I've got a slightly different angle here, and this is something I learned just the last week. I confess to that. It's from a VC, if you can believe it, older than me. And this was in Bangalore. And truly, and this was yesterday actually with Srikanth. So he said he was responsible for one of the biggest IT company successes in India, which is Infosys.
Sure.
And he said he's also responsible for the biggest biotech company successes in India, which is Biocon. So I said, how so? So he says, we invested in Biocon. I said, yeah, that I know because the firm is, I won't name the firm, but everybody knows who it was. Then he said, I said, I don't think you guys invested in Infosys. He said, yeah, but I rejected them. So it builds character. So by being a fun-loving whatever, we're building character amongst the entrepreneur community to take rejection. And rejection is one of the things you have to take. It's a very important point. If you want to be a successful entrepreneur, handle rejection.
Right. Very well put. Takeaway, guys, is Darwinism is good. Those of you who won't survive, you're not meant to. Anybody else wants to go? We're good? The next question I had, by the way, there were many questions that we got sourced from the ecosystem which are not here. I'll be happy to do that offline. The definition of venture is an undertaking that is supposed to be daring, uncertain future, risk, fraught with risk, etc. If you guys don't take risk, why do you call yourself a VC? Well, I have to call somebody else go now. You've been an entrepreneur multiple times.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And now you're a venture capitalist.
Actually, I don't see myself as someone not taking risk. Probably, like you ask my wife, she thinks I take too much risk. But, yeah. So I would say that, as an, like go back to something said earlier as well, as an entrepreneur, you get like so many rejections. And I think that sort of builds your sense of, what to look for as well. And I think you sort of try to moderate that. And I think as like an investor with my own money, I think I tend to take much more risk than I would as a fund, because as a fund, you've got other people to answer to. So I think my risk profile is probably much higher than like a proper fund profile.
Good point.
So
let's get the two that are insulated, Venkat and
So I think it's other way around actually, right? Okay. Now, VCs are having difficult time to find good companies.
Right.
There are only two kinds of companies I see nowadays, right? First one, everything is deep learning, right? I have deep learning this, I have deep learning that. That's it. And then second one, the valuations are very misunderstood concept, right? Those two things, right? We want to take risk, but we're not able to find something.
Sure.
For sure.
Sure. Prasad?
Yeah, sure. I mean, 2 years old, 25 companies in the portfolio. I'm not sure if there's more risk that we can take, to be honest, right?
Sure.
So I think for us, it's more about trying to, I mean, if you're able to add value and if you can understand that business, I think all of us probably come with some kind of a bias of, places that we worked before and where we think that we can add value to that organization. And sometimes you might find an exciting opportunity out there, but if you don't understand it well enough, we might not invest in it.
Yeah, good
I
point.
think that's...
I think one thing to use this as a template to tell the folks out there that most institutional investors are not necessarily investing their money, right? So when you hear terms like LPs, what that means is you're taking money from somebody else and investing, which is what Sashi was alluding to. I don't know if that satisfies the question, but we'll...
I have a comment to make.
Sure.
I would actually argue that the entrepreneurs are not taking enough risk.
True. Okay.
I'll just leave it there and handle the pressure after this event.
Understood.
Yeah, I think that's true. In fact, we should really roast the entrepreneurs because I started a game development company long back when there were no games around. Lost my shirt on it, lost a lot of hair as well. I'd like to see more of entrepreneurs coming forward with things that are outside of the standard stuff. I'd love to see some totally out of the box ideas coming out.
100% agree. Yeah. For the rat race losers who had your hands up earlier, the trash, can you put that up again, please? Entrepreneurs, keep it up. Come on, that was much more than that. How many of you are okay with not having a valuation dialogue? If you're early stage, those hands have significantly dropped. Do you want to make a note of those guys? And the trick to note is that your valuation means squat. At day zero, none of it matters. It is just a notion in your head, at best a PowerPoint, and even better, maybe an Excel to articulate that. But your valuation is absolute BS. So, point taken. Yep. And one way to hedge the risk is you go up there and say, I'm open to evaluation. So this is for you guys. Can you complete the sentence, each one of you? Most entrepreneurs that I come across these days are blank.
Very fun-loving.
Oh, fantastic. Quickly got that out of the way. Who wants to go next?
I see.
This is a roast, guys. Have fun. Don't come up with things like they don't have value and they don't add to my portfolio, etc.
Yeah, I think, the Uber for this and the Uber for that is dead.
Nice.
I think entrepreneurs need to now come up with ideas that are much more unique and innovative. I feel the whole copy-paste model from what's happening out there to here is dying. I mean, you can see that VC capital is not going into in that kind of deals. So, in my view, I think most entrepreneurs today should start thinking about what we can really create and able to attract that kind of capital.
Got it.
They're more intelligent than I am.
Nicely done.
Absolutely. So I've always said that entrepreneurs build companies, not venture capitalists. Right? So I think it's always very, very interesting to meet a very intense entrepreneur because in 45 minutes to 60 minutes, you get to learn so much from them.
Sure.
There are months of research about overall market opportunity, a product, competition. So I always think that whether you make a decision, it just doesn't mean if you're not deciding to invest that the idea is bad.
Right.
It's not that probably it didn't fit your criteria or you couldn't add value or you couldn't comprehend. So an entrepreneur should not think that, I'm rejected, hence I don't have a future or my idea doesn't have future. So I think they should think and say, okay, here is the feedback that I got, I need to go work on it.
Sure.
And, go do my homework, my research, and then figure out who is the right person to go pitch this. So I always think entrepreneurs are much smarter than venture capitalists.
Very nice.
Yeah.
You're on the spot now, Sarath. After that, I don't know how you come back from that.
I know, you said everything that could be said. Yeah, all I'm going to say is you said, I think Jay misled me. I mean, he's misled the whole audience. You said that it's going to be a fun, humorous thing. VCs are not fun. We are not humorous.
So far it's been
I
fun,
rest
yes,
my
no?
case.
They disagree. It's been a fun crowd. Most entrepreneurs are more fun.
I'm sorry, I forgot. Most of the entrepreneurs I come across these days are very entertaining.
Okay.
I said it tongue in cheek. I'll tell you what it is, right? I mean, I've been at this for a long time, and I think part of the reason I still enjoy this activity, it's not meeting my investors, I can tell you that.
Sure.
It's meeting the entrepreneurs, not to roast them, but I think I think like Sateesh said, we live through the kind of dreams that they're painting,
right.
and the vision and the belief in the capability that they have. And behind it all, there is also, we can see that there is the effort that there's going to be there, there's a sense of logic and rationale, and finding such people constantly, even in the simplest ideas sometimes.
Sure.
Sometimes they need guidance in terms of trying to do better than what they're proposing. But that's what we are there, I think, for some times, or maybe a better mentor. But the whole experience of engaging with entrepreneurs is finally what drives me, I think.
Understood.
And that's why I'm here.
Very cool. Very poetic. Sashi?
What, the same thing?
Yeah.
Most entrepreneurs that I come across tend to be late. Always caught in Hyderabad traffic. But actually, I've got an advantage over the others in the sense that since I live away,
Right.
I get to interact first by emails and by Skype, and that tells me a lot about the entrepreneur. In fact, sometimes you learn a lot more from a distance than you do up front. So
Got it.
it's very interesting because I have a lot of that communication before I actually meet the person,
Got it.
and of course, then they're late. But I do know a lot about them, and I think that helps a lot in terms of forming an opinion. So
Makes sense. Thank you. Very diverse set of answers, but thank you for that. The next question I had was, this was tricky, and I was trying to figure out how does it take positioning of the sentence right? So I'll leave it to you. It's fairly open-ended. Entrepreneurs, in your minds, are useful when they blank.
that's an easy one, when they make money.
Oh, good. I was going to say in the brackets there, cannot use the word capital, money, etc.
Okay.
And useless when they.
Well,
I think entrepreneurs are useful when they share data and useless when
good
they
one.
don't.
Very good.
Because, and we have this problem across, I think, all our portfolio, that if you ask, okay, what is this portfolio doing at this time? And if you ask any, I think, angel investor or VC, he has to go back to his analyst to say, hey, why don't you chase that guy to get some data? I think it's very important for you to share data. If you share data, you probably will get funded the next time. Otherwise,
Great point.
Yeah. You won't.
By the way, these are all extremely useful nuggets that you should imbibe, right? Like you said, getting MIS reports, yeah, great point.
All right. Entrepreneurs are useful when they take zero salary.
Oh,
Very good, right? Or close to zero, let's say. Right? And useless when
pushing the
they-
envelope there. Pushing the envelope.
I'm just kidding, guys. But you know, when you put a lot of salaries for yourselves, right? We see through that, right? That's a point I'm trying to make. And useless when they can manage and build the teams, right? Because I see that a lot, right? You know, that's getting serious a little bit, but
Sure.
that's what I would think.
Very good points.
Yeah.
I think entrepreneurs are useful when they're honest to themselves,
Okay.
and also useless, of course, when they over-optimize. Let me kind of elaborate. I think for all the entrepreneurs out there, it's kind of really the opportunity cost. And it's 1 out of 1. For VCs, you know, they're managing a portfolio,
Right.
right? So we all know that, you know, you make 15, 18 investments. If 3 of them give you decent returns, you still can go return money to your investors. But for entrepreneur, it has to be that 1 out of 1,
Sure.
right? So they need to be extremely honest with themselves. And over-optimizing sometimes, obviously, is just going to delay the cycle.
Right.
And it's not going to be a win-win situation. So they always need to look at, you know, just the way they're very aggressive in going and building a startup, they need to make quick decisions and then move on.
Got it. Got it. Thank you.
Okay. So this again is going to be a commentary just not on being entrepreneur, but also maybe to do with if you're about to get married, please remember this. Entrepreneurs are useful when they love me as much before signing the contract as after signing the contract. Are you guys getting it? It's very important because life's about, you get into a contract fully understanding all the sides of the picture.
Right.
Don't ever fall into a relationship if you really think once you sign the contract you can play a different different game. It's not good for you, it's not good for your partner,
Sure.
it's not good for the world in general. You can do a lot by behaving the same way before you sign the contract as well as after you sign the contract.
Got it. Yep. Very cool. I like the analogy to the marriage. If my wife's somewhere here, please take note of that.
I think it looks like what you're talking from, like first-hand experience on that.
May not be.
Exactly. Relate to this.
So actually, like to just take up on what was said by Sarath, entrepreneurs are useful when they make use of me in the sense that I'm there to help them. So I love an entrepreneur who says that, hey, can you make this introduction, do that for me, do this for me.
Right.
And they are, well, useless when they try to solve problems completely on their own. Because, you know, when you think about it, after all these years of being old, you get to know a lot of people and, you know, so like an entrepreneur should really tap into that and fully leverage the investor to the hilt and in fact become a nuisance. Call them over the weekend, hey, can you do this for me? That's good actually, that shows that they're on the job.
Very cool, yep. That's a great point. I think the one thing that entrepreneurs get lost as far as psychology, when you take money from investors, it sets hierarchy, right? Straight away it sets hierarchy, and I think the takeaway from the panel here is that that shouldn't be the case. You know, they're here to help you, and if anything, they're here to return the money that they took down to give to you. So, thank you for that. So thank you so much, guys. I would truly appreciate it if you put your hands together for these wonderful gentlemen for being so sportive. And they are, by the way, the best VCs in town. As of now, they are. So thank you so much. Thanks for putting up with us. Thank you so much, folks, for being part of this panel. We had a great time. Thank you.